Holy shit. You guys have no idea how long I've been wanting to make these videos. This is something I've wanted to do since I first started uploading to this channel, so I'm really happy to finally be going for it. Now that the 8 Deluxe DLC and new tour content have both ended, and we won't really be getting new Mario Kart content for a little while, not until probably the next Nintendo console, I finally want to rank the tracks in every game. I've kinda gone an extra mile and made a whole database for myself, including every Mario Kart track and how I would rank them. I had like some kind of database class last year and just kind of like wanted something to do with it. So with that said, I have a decently accurate idea of where each track falls in my mind. So the plan is I'm going to do individual videos for every game, and then I'm going to finish all this off with an overall ranking of every track in the series. At the moment, I don't have that specific ranking finalized, since that one will basically be my ranking of the tracks themselves, while these first videos will more so be ranking the iterations of the tracks that come within each individual game. I feel like I did a shit job at explaining that, but you'll see what I mean as this goes on. For now, let's start with the SNES tracks. As I go through each video, I'll be doing a ranking of each game compared to the previous ones I've covered, and as most who've played Super Mario Kart would expect, it's only up from here. Like, this is easily gonna be the bottom of the list. As a little twist on the format though, since I know this is neither the first nor the last Mario Kart ranking video on YouTube, this month even, I'd like to rank the cups within Super Mario Kart and then go through the individual track rankings at the end. This will be the case for every video in the series, so look forward to that. With all that said, let's begin. So at number 4 we have the Mushroom Cup, and this shouldn't really be too big of a surprise to anyone, because the tracks in this cup are easily the most basic in this already extremely basic game. We start off with Mario Circuit 1, which, while being iconic for being the first track in the series, honestly, there isn't really much special about it, especially compared to the later Mario circuits in this game alone. The unfortunate thing with this game is that all the track themes are the same throughout the game, so we really need to look at the layouts to really differentiate them, and Mario Circuit 1 is easily the most basic Mario circuit in this game. It's iconic for being the first track in the series, but outside of that, there's literally nothing special about this track. It's just a couple straightaways, it kind of dips in at one point, and that's basically it. It's really straightforward. Donut Plains 1 is the second track in the cup, and it has a problem that you'll see as we continue through this list, where a lot of Super Mario Kart tracks are shaped very similar to each other. It'll be like sort of 3 sides of a square, and then it like dips in and then dips back out. It basically creates like a lowercase n shape, and there's obviously variations on that, but ultimately the track design is very simple throughout this one, and Donut Plains 1 is the first of many of these tracks. Ghost Valley 1, I've never been too huge on the Ghost Valley tracks just because there's not really a whole lot to look at, and the theming is decent enough, but it's just, with the ghost tracks we've gone later on in the series, there's just nothing really too much to say about them. Ghost Valley 1 at the very least does have a pretty neat little feather shortcut if you're able to hit it, but aside from that, it's borderline a square. Bowser Castle 1 is the second of our N-shaped tracks. This one is honestly a little more simple than Donut Plains 1 in some ways, in that the track is almost completely straight with only like 90-degree turns in it. And the 90-degree turns do add difficulty to it, which is a big thing they had to lean on in Super Mario Kart because everything is so rudimentary compared to later games. But aside from that, it's a fairly nothing track, aside from having a couple little jumps here and there. Mario Circuit 2 is easily the best course in this cup, and It's honestly what I would say is my favorite Mario circuit in the game. This one has a much more interesting layout, and that's before we even get to the jump that's at the end of the track, which, for being one of the only tracks in this game where you jump over another section of the track, it easily gets pushed up above most of the other tracks in the game. So for number 3, in a turn that kind of surprises me, we have the Special Cup. And looking at it, I thought it would have been one of the higher placing ones, just because it does have what I consider to be the best track in the game. But then looking at it, I realized that a lot of the other tracks in this cup are among the weaker ones in this game in my eyes. So I guess it just kind of balanced out like that. Starting off, we have Donut Plains 3, which is yet another track doing that end shape that I talked about earlier. And this one is a little bit more twisty than some of the other ones, which I do like. And what I also like about this track is that it actually makes you use the little hops that you do before you drift. And I don't know, I think it's really cool that there's a track that actually utilizes those, just because you never really see that aside from tricking in later games, and even then that's kind of its own thing. Aside from that though, it's just kind of Donut Plains but harder. Moving on, we have Koopa Beach 2, which I've never really been too huge on the original versions of Koopa Beach. Like, the color scheme always just felt very just bland and depressing to me for some reason. And the layout for this one also is basically just a circle. There's not really too much to say about it in this game. I do like the remake that we eventually get in Tour. I think the color scheme is brightened up really well. And I like the addition of like the Cheep Cheeps, but we'll get to that later on when we get to that. For this game though, just easily one of the weaker tracks. So the third race in the Special Cup is Ghost Valley 3. And I'm not too huge on the Ghost Valleys like I talked about earlier, and this one's no exception to that. It's yet another end shape, and there are a few more turns in the road compared to the other Ghost Valleys, but a lot of that can just be solved by just driving diagonally. And aside from that, there's really not a whole lot to say about this track. So moving on to Vanilla Lake 2, which is on the lower end of tracks for me, but not quite the bottom. And I know this is probably the bottom for most people, but I don't know, something about that. I know I just complained about Koopa Beach being a circle, which is exactly what this track does, but something about it I just kind of have a soft spot for. I think it's really cool that you're able to, again, do little hops on the road to jump over the gaps in the ice if you're good enough at doing that, which kind of gives it the edge over Vanilla Lake 1 for me. But aside from that, it's an ice level in what is already probably the worst controlling Mario Kart game. So that's kind of already a recipe for disaster right there. And finally in this cup, we have Rainbow Road, which I would say it's one of the weaker Rainbow Roads in the series. I don't know. It's not a bad track at all, and I think all of the remakes it's gone have been great. And I do think it is the best track in this game. I'll just go on and say that right now. The difficulties there, between all the turns being 90 degrees with no railings, the invincible thwomps being there that'll spin you out if you touch them. But aside from that, not really too much more to say about until we get to later games. So yeah. Now that we're halfway through the cup rankings, let's talk about the battle tracks. In number 4, we have SNES Battle Course 3, basically Battle Course 1, but ice physics, which automatically makes it the worst. Number 3, we have Battle Course 4, basically Battle Course 1, but with way too many lanes, which makes it to where you don't interact with each other that much. Number 2, we have Battle Course 1, way better in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but still decent here. Number 1, we have Battle Course 2, the only one that's actually fun in this game. I really like the use of the sections within the barriers, which makes you use feathers to access stuff like other item boxes or even get some temporary protection from who you're fighting against. I think that's honestly really unique and makes this one easily the best one out of the SNES battle courses. And with that said, let's get to number 2. Heading into number 2, we have the Star Cup. Starting off, we have Koopa Beach 1, which I think is better than Koopa Beach 2 just because the layout's just a little more interesting. I think it's a little more drivable than Koopa Beach 2. And I honestly wouldn't mind seeing this one come back in a future game. I think there's definitely some that could be done with it. Going on to Choco Island 2, never been a huge fan of Choco Island. Just the color palette isn't the best. Even in more recent iterations of the tracks, it's just never really been huge on it. And this one especially, I'm not huge on the whole like mud area in the middle. I just don't really like how that part plays personally. And aside from that, there's the shortcut through the walls at the start, but really, again, not a whole lot to say about the track. Going to Vanilla Lake 1, this is easily the worst track in this game. It has ice physics. There's not any crazy, like, unique jumping and stuff like Vanilla Lake 2 had. And it also has those stupid-ass ice blocks in the middle of the road that will completely destroy your momentum and potentially trap you in one spot for who knows how long in a race. It's not fun, it sucks. And that's all I have to say about that. So, Bowser Castle 3 is a track that has definitely grown on me over the last few months, and I think everyone watching this video probably would know why. And honestly, the track design's not bad. It does have that in-shape problem that a lot of the other SNES tracks have, but it does a lot that kind of counteracts it. So the start of the race, you turn, there's a couple jumps, and then you turn again and get to that section where you could go through a bunch of different paths of varying levels of difficulty and reward and stuff. And I think that's a really cool section to have. It's honestly really unique for this game. And so there's a couple more turns after that, and we get to yet another more unique section from this game where it is a straightaway, but it's divided into 3 lanes that have a wall between each, and that's honestly kind of cool. Like, I wouldn't say it necessarily plays the best, especially in this game, but this track does a lot that other Super Mario Kart tracks really don't try to do. And for that, it definitely goes up in the rankings compared to a lot of the other tracks. And then we end off at Mario Circuit 4, which isn't necessarily the best Mario Circuit in the game, but it is pretty fun in its own right, at least by this game standards. I think this track would honestly benefit from a modern remake, and I hope we do get one in the next game, especially if it's in a similar vein to Bowser Castle 3 and Tourin' 8 Deluxe. But for now, it is a pretty distinctly fun Mario Circuit track compared to what else we have in SNES. It's not the best one we have in SNES, but it's up there. And as any of y'all would have guessed, for number 1, we have the Flower Cup. And I wouldn't necessarily say that getting number 1 in this game is that big of an honor. I feel like with how a lot of these cups have been structured, they'll have 1 or 2 decent tracks by Super Mario Kart standards, while the rest of them are pretty bottom of the barrel. And so honestly, I'd say the Flower Cup is the most mid cup overall, which balances out to it being the best cup in this game. So starting off, we have Choco Island 1, which I think is better than Choco Island 2, just in that it's a lot more functional as a race course, and while it is very short, I think there's some fun to be had with it to some extent. Then we have Ghost Valley 2, which I will admit this one's also kind of gone up in rankings for me just because of modern remakes of it. And they haven't really done anything special with it, but I don't know, something about this track, I just kind of like it. There's a cool little shortcut towards the start, which gets used in later games. And aside from that, the layout's not terrible, so I mean, it is what it is. The third course of this cup, Donut Plains 2, is so forgettable that I'm having to record this during editing because I forgot to the first time. If you showed me Donut Plains 1 and Donut Plains 2 side by side, I could honestly probably not tell you the difference. Both are N-shaped tracks, as all Donut Plains tracks are. And 1 and 2 are just so similar in my mind that they just blend together. I guess 1 has a bridge and 2 is slightly more curvy, but aside from that, there's really nothing much to remember. That said, it's not a bad track. It's definitely one of the more mid tracks of this game. I'm gonna skip number 4 for just a second and just go on ahead and talk about the last track in the cup, Mario Circuit 3. Which yet again has gone up in my personal ranking just from modern iterations. But I don't know, like, this is one of the Mario circuits that does have a specific set piece almost that the other ones don't. Sort of like how 2 has the jump, this one has that one really sharp turn about halfway through. And while that's not the most interesting thing ever, especially since stuff like DS Mario Circuit has given us like a double hairpin turn, I think it is pretty cool that they had one in this game to this degree. And finally, we're technically not finally, in the 4th slot of this cup, we have Bowser Castle 2. Which, this one is very infamous for having one path that is a dead end, but I think that's just funny. Like, genuinely, I love this track just because of that stupid turn with the dead end. I know you're able to use a feather at the right time and jump over it, which I feel like a lot of people neglect to mention, but I don't know, it's just the idea of a blind, just dead end in a Mario Kart track. It's definitely not the best track design at all, but to some extent, it kind of just adds to the chaos that I feel like a lot of people love Mario Kart for. Like, people play Mario Kart to win, but I think half the fun of Mario Kart is just the absolute I'd say more than half of the fun of Mario Kart is just dealing with the absolute chaos that is happening on screen, and having just some crazy track design like this, I don't know, I think in a sense it's not necessarily a good racetrack, but in some ways it's kind of a good Mario Kart track, but I would still not say it's the best track in this game. Alright, so that is my ranking of the individual cups in Super Mario Kart. And now that I've given my thoughts on all the tracks, I just want to go on in through my ranking of the individual tracks in the game. So, in number 20, we have Vanilla Lake 1. 19 is Vanilla Lake 2. 18, Mario Circuit 1. 17, Ghost Valley 1. 16, Donut Plains 1. 15, Donut Plains 2. 14, Ghost Valley 3. 13, Ghost Valley 2. 12, Bowser Castle 1, 11, Choco Island 1, 10, Koopa Beach 2, 9, Choco Island 2, 8, Mario Circuit 4, 7, Mario Circuit 3, 6, Koopa Beach 1, 5, Bowser Castle 2, 4, Donut Plains 3, 3, Bowser Castle 3, 2, Mario Circuit 2, and of course number 1 is SNES Rainbow Road. That is going to be it for this video. I'm glad to have gone through all of the SNES tracks, even if that's not necessarily the best place I could have started this series, but I figure we might as well go in the game order. And honestly, I'm just glad to have the SNES out of the way. Super Mario Kart is definitely different from the other Mario Kart games, and it's definitely the weakest one. But I think there is some fun to be had every now and then with the game, but at this point it really shows its age, and it's generally just more fun to just pick up another game in the series. including what we're going to be covering in the next video. So stay tuned for that. We will probably be getting to that within the next couple weeks, hopefully. And I really just need to see how long it takes to get these videos out. Like, right now, as I'm recording this, I've literally just started working on this video. So I genuinely don't know how long this video is going to take to make. It could be I could have this done tonight, but I could also have this done in a few weeks. It really depends. That said, I will see you guys next time. Bye! I'm just gonna record my voice now, because I borderline fell asleep multiple times during the last couple races. Whoa. Fucking peachy. Yeah, shit track. Pee pee poo poo caca. Woo! This is quality commentary. Oh yeah, I'm sure some of y'all have probably noticed that I'm playing the special version, and I'm doing that purely because I'm pretty sure... Well, I mean, I know there's the cheat code, but this just automatically has all the tracks unlocked, which is nice. Damn, we're really getting some riveting gameplay for this video. That's okay. I shouldn't have to make myself look good. This is my footage. If I'm asked at Super Mario Kart for the SNES, then so be it. I'll cope. It is nice having actual map knowledge on one of these. Okay, that was on me. Track of the next cup is... Oh my god. I got distracted by talking. This is gonna be some great footage, y'all. Yeah, best track in the game, 100% for sure. It's the one thing I'll give Vanilla Lake is the music fucks. Oh my fucking god, are you kidding me? I mean, I guess that's out of the way for the rest of the laps. Shit. Average Vanilla Lake experience. Damn. Oh my god, please. Stop. Stop. No. But can you see why I rank this at the bottom of the list? Can we all see that?